Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Joshua's Movie Reviews and More. Excuse me. The drinking game rules still apply, if those of you who saw my Bohemian Rhapsody video. It's for 21 or older, so you have to be a legal adult. Also, like always, I try to do all my videos in one shot, so please forgive me if I make little mistakes. It's been a long time since I made videos. I made made this video plus my Bohemian Rhapsody and The Exorcism of Hannah Grace in one weekend. So just bear with me and everything like that, because I have not had a lot of time to go see movies. Work, personal stuff gets in the way, things happen. But this weekend, I also went to go see Creed 2. Now, Creed 2 is a good film. Don't get me wrong. Has a lot of history to it. Well, that's what makes it a good film. If you saw it by itself, you're not going to get... It's a good fight film, everything like that. But what makes it a good film is the history behind it. And that's what we're going to concentrate on today. You can't just go see Creed, then go see Creed 2, and it still have the, impact that you would have if you knew the history of the whole Rocky franchise. Except for Rocky 5. That one you don't really have to go see. I like to pretend that Rocky 5 never happened. But that's just me. But to start off, you have Rocky. It was written by Sylvester Stallone. In fact, I think it was directed by him, too. I'm not really sure. Excuse me. I'm not really 100% sure about that. But Google it yourself. Sylvester Stallone plays Rocky Balboa. You have Adrian, his love interest, and later on his wife, and everything like that is played by Talia Shear. Yeah, Polly, who's played by Burt Young. Now, what I've been told, Burt Young was a nice guy. But the only thing you really need to know about Polly is that he drinks, he smokes cigars, and he sometimes, actually all the time, emotionally abuses and sometimes physically abuses his sister. He's basically a D-bag. He has his good points throughout all the films. I think once a film, I think he says something good. Most of the time, he's a D-bag. Mickey is Rocky's trainer. Not really the beginning of the film, but he eventually trains him. He's played by Burgess Meredith. And you have Apollo Creed. He's played by Carl Weathers. Now, I'm not going to mention all the stuff these people have been in, because it'll just take way too long. If you don't know Sylvester Stallone or Carl Weathers or Burgess Meredith or anything, just don't even go see Creed 2. But Rocky is, the movie Rocky is based off, Apollo Creed is the heavyweight champion of the world. He's running out of people to fight, so he wants to do a promotional fight where he gives a no-name, nobody fighter the chance to go after the title. So they pit Rocky. Now, I don't know why Sylvester Stallone did this, but he wrote Rocky as a pure meathead. I mean, Rocky is beyond stupid. Barely knows how to read. I guess he's just a fighter, and he gets hit in the head too many times, and he was an enforcer on the docks collecting, loan shark debts, and he's just a moron. Pure and simple. I don't know why Adrian falls for him, but hey, everybody has their weaknesses. Maybe hers is idiots. But he gets a chance to go after the title. Mickey trains him. Rocky films basically became a cookie cutter franchise at one point. Except for Rocky 3. Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 have a little bit, but pretty much it goes on. Rocky gets challenged he starts training, cue the music, dun, 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 and he goes to fight and he wins. Except for the first one. The first one he loses. It ends up becoming a split decision, and they say Apollo Creed's still a champion, heavyweight champion of the world. And Rocky's like, oh, thanks for the thing. And Apollo's like, there ain't going to be a rematch. Cue in Rocky 2. Rocky 2 starts, everybody reprises their roles, by the way. Rocky 2 starts off where Rocky 1 ends. They go to the hospital, they're all banged up and everything like that. Rocky's more banged up than Apollo, but they're still banged up. Then Apollo he told Rocky in the ring there ain't gonna be a rematch, but Apollo gets in front of the cameras and he's like, I'll take you on anytime, I'll take a rematch, whatever. And Rocky's like, I thought there was gonna be a rematch. And he's like, no, chump, I'll take you anytime. So people start sending bad fan mail to Apollo, and he gets his feelings hurt. Boo-hoo. So they go and have a rematch. Cue music. But it was the worst mistake Apollo ever made, because at the last round, of course, Rocky wins. Like the last second. I mean, literally the last second. Then you go on to Rocky 3. Now, at some point between Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, Rocky's gotten smarter. He's gotten more civilized. Thank God. Because, jeez, I couldn't stand this many Rocky films with him being that much of a meathead. Everybody again reprises their roles. Except for they add Clubber Lang, who's the main antagonist of the film. It's played by Mr. T. So, from what I understand, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you can't just win the championship and say, okay, I'm good, and you just sit on your laurels for the rest of your life saying I'm the champ. No, you have to keep fighting, you have to keep defending your title, otherwise they take it away from you. So, Mickey starts making fights for Rocky, and it ends up being just nobodies, and they're just ways for Rocky to fight to keep his title. Clubber Lang notices this and says, I want a chance at it. And Mickey's like, no. And Rocky's like, why? You know, it's just another fight. And he's like, it's not just another fight. Clubber Lang will kill you. He'll rip you into two. I mean, look at Mr. T. I wouldn't want to fight him. But, so they set it up. And Mr. T whoops the tar out of Rocky. And before the fight, Clubber Lang hits Mickey. And later on dies. Sad. News comes out that they're all fixed, all this kind of stuff. And Rocky, he gets approached by Apollo saying, hey, I'll train you. Get back to the basics. I'll train you up. You have a rematch. You get your title back. Rocky goes to that, oh, I'm a nobody, because all these fights were fixed. And then his wife talks to him, no, you're still good. Fight, train. Cue music, train. He fights Mr. T again. Rocky wins. Alright, now we're off to Rocky 4. Everybody reprises their roles, except for Mickey, because Burgess Meredith's character is unfortunately passed away. And Clubber Lang, Mr. T, does not appear in this. But Rocky Balboa, Adrian Pauly, and Apollo are all still in this film. And yes, Apollo's wife's somewhere in the background, and you got your trainers and every blah blah blah, whatever. But this is the one you really need to pay attention to, because this is the one that has the most history that involves Creed 2. At the beginning of the film, you have Ivan Drago, who's played by Dolph Lundgren. Now, Dolph Lundgren looks like a meathead. but he actually is really, 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 really intelligent. He has like a degree in some type of molecular engineering or something like that. I forgot what. Google it. Anyway, Dolph Lundgren is smart. But he is a Russian fighter who wants to come out. This was during, I think, either during or right at the ending of the Cold War. Right when everybody, I think it was during the Cold War, where we very suspicious about Russians, and we had this thing going on, blah blah blah. Then, but he is a Russian boxer who wants to go for the championship and everything like that. He wants to come out and he wants to have worthy opponents. But Ivan, they do like this thing where it shows how many square pressure per square inch he hits. He hits like a freight train. So he has this exhibition bout with Apollo, and Apollo comes out with all the fanfare and fireworks and all this kind of stuff, and makes basically a spectacle, and he just gets the crap beat out of him to the point that he dies in the ring. And Rocky's sad, all this kind of stuff. His friend died, so he wants revenge. So they do he wants a match with Ivan. They go to Russia because that's where it's going to be held. The original fight between Ivan and Apollo was held in America, but they say this match is going to be held in Russia. So Rocky, Adrian, and Paulie go to Russia and cue music. Rocky trains, all this kind of stuff. He trains for a year, and then he goes against Ivan. He wins, but during that point, during the fight, Ivan broke some stuff in Rocky that never gets fixed. Like I said, he hits like a freight train. But he wins and everything's great. Rocky 5. We're just going to skip that. But Rocky, Adrian, and Paulie were in it. That's all you need to know. Rocky Balboa, otherwise known as Rocky 6. It has Sylvester Stallone. At this point, Adrian has died. She died of cancer. So he starts the whole visits to, where they used to date, and where they, he visits her grave and all this kind of stuff. And he has Adrian's restaurant and everything like that. Paulie, he doesn't want to do it anymore. He doesn't want to visit her grave anymore. He's like, I abused her all the time. I was a horrible brother. And he goes, you think I want to relive that? And all this kind of, whatever. But he also introduced to Robert Balboa Jr. Well, technically, he was in, I think, the third one. As a kid, he was in number 5 as a teenager. But in this one, he's played by Milo. I'm not even going to pronounce that last name. But you would mainly know him from Heroes. That's where they introduce Rocky Balboa's son. The only reason I'm mentioning Rocky Balboa is because, number one, that starts the whole visiting the grave of Adrian. It starts with the restaurant and also Robert Balboa Jr. Now, a few years later, we have Creed. Again, you have Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone. This one actually introduces 3 new characters. Paulie, by this point, is dead as well. Now when Rocky goes and visits Adrian's grave, Paulie's right next to her, and he visits him as well. You still have the restaurant, all that kind of stuff. But it introduces Adonis Creed, which is the illegitimate son of Apollo, who was the byproduct of an affair. The teenage version of Adonis at the beginning of the film gets approached by Mary Ann Creed, the wife, the widow of Apollo Creed. And I guess she adopts him or something like that. and, you know, says, hey, you can come and live with me. He gets educated, of course, because he doesn't speak like he's a meathead, which Rocky does mention later on, because Adonis goes to Rocky, says, I want to be trained, all this kind of stuff. And he does end up training him, and they go through a few bouts. But at this point, Adonis is like going to Mexico and fights there. And he has a good job and back in, I think, L.A. But he quits the job, he goes to Rocky, he moves to Philadelphia against his mother's wishes, and that's where he meets Bianca, who's played by Tisha Thompson. Adonis Creed is played by Michael B. Jordan. And Mary Ann Creed is played by Felicia Rashad. The only reason Mary Ann Creed, she was played by other actresses in some of the earlier films, but she really didn't have that big of a part until the Creed movies. Bianca and Adonis start dating. You know, Bianca is his love interest. And it shows him getting trained for, you know, not only a fight, but he has basically 2 fights throughout the film. He has this one fight, it's just a bout, he wins, great. But then he gets a chance at the title, because everybody finds out, because he's basically going to all these, Adonis is going to all these fights saying he's like Harry Johnson or something like that, Henry Johnson or something, and he's trying to develop a name for himself without doing the whole Creed thing. But somebody finds out he's Creed's son, and that's when the champion is like, or at least the manager of the champion is like, you have no more bouts left in you, you're about to go to jail. You need this one fight so you can have some money for your kids and everything like that. So they agree, they have the fight. Just like in the original Rocky, he goes for it, Adonis does, and he loses. It goes to decision, and didn't win. But now people know that he's not just some, you know, daddy's boy fighter. He's actually a fighter. He can go the distance. Great. Now, Creed 2. With all that being said, go to Creed 2. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky Balboa. Adonis Creed, Michael B. Jordan, Bianca, Tisha Thompson, Mary Ann Creed. I mean, basically everybody's there, including Ivan Drago. Dolph Lundgren reprises his role, but you also have Victor Drago. Florian, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name of this guy, but Ivan had a son named Victor. So this is where it all comes down to a head. You have Apollo's son, who's right at the beginning of the film, he goes against the world champion, he wins. Right after he wins, Ivan and his son come to America and say, hey, we want a title match. Come on, let's go. And they're like, all right, we just got the championship. And Rocky's like, I ain't going to train you. I can't do it. It was your dad went against Ivan, and he died. I should have stopped the fight, but I didn't. And when I went against Ivan, he broke some stuff in me that ain't never going to get fixed. And he's basically saying, you have all this stuff to... I mean, all this stuff is in the trailers. He's like, you got stuff to lose that this guy doesn't. And people who don't have stuff to lose are dangerous. He's like, well, I'm dangerous too. He's like, yeah, but... I mean, Victor's taller, has a longer reach. He's bigger. I mean, Adonis has everything going against him. As you can probably tell if you've seen other Rocky films, Adonis says, well, I'm going for it anyway. So Adonis splits from Rocky. They move back to L.A. along with Bianca, who he's now married to, I think. And they move back. They get with him. He reacquaints himself with his mom, who I guess he really didn't lose connection with her, but he finally gets to see her again. He starts training, cue music, blah blah. He goes and fights him. He fights Victor, gets his butt stomped, but he doesn't lose. Try to figure that one out. But it comes down to that he didn't lose, but everybody's still now making fun of him, saying, you just got your butt whooped, and this guy didn't have a scratch on him, and how can you call yourself champion? So he's like, I got to go against him again, blah, 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 as everybody in the theater knew that he would say. And Rocky comes up, visits L.A., sees that, Adonis has a new, chunk beef of flesh as a face, and says, okay, we'll train you up. I'm with you. And so they go and train. Again, cue music. And he goes against Victor and wins. Absolutely fantastic. And later on, I guess Rocky hadn't seen his son in a while. That's when I mentioned Milo. That's the reason why. Because at the end of the film, Rocky reconnects with his son, blah, blah, blah. Happy day. Rainbows and sunshine. Like I said, it's a good bout movie. I would see all the Rockies before, or at least not all of them. You can kind of count out number 5 and Rocky Balboa at the end. If anything, see Rocky 4 before you go see Creed. Actually, go see Rocky 4, see Creed, and then go see Creed 2. That's my professional, advice. Just so when you go into Creed 2, you get the whole I know what's going on vibe. So, but Creed 2 does have, it has a good pacing, but it's more like that cookie cutter thing. He goes, fights. He has 3 fights throughout this whole film. He has a title bout at the beginning of the film, where he gets the title. He has the first fight with Victor, which he wins, but he also got his butt kicked, and it's horrible to watch. And then the rematch with Victor, which he wins. At this point in time, I kind of feel for Ivan, because when he lost to Rocky years ago, he lost everything. Except for his son. I mean, he lost his status in society, he lost his wife, everything. So I kind of feel for the guy, and this is just like Ivan's way of getting back in that spotlight with his son and getting basically that pride back. But doesn't happen. So sorry. It's worth going to go see if you've seen Rocky 4 and Creed. If you've seen at least those films, it's worth going to go see. If not, you can go see it, but I wouldn't recommend it, because you won't have that emotional connection. Other than that, with all that being said, this is me signing off, saying if you're not going to be good at it.